All right. Hello and welcome everyone to DR Tech Summit, the first annual edition. Really excited to welcome all of you to this iconic summit launch. Please, as always, share what part of Dominican Republic you're joining in from. And if you're part of the Dominican diaspora, share and tag a city that you're joining us as well. We're so excited to welcome everyone to the first annual DR Tech Summit live virtual edition. Welcome to this program. As we kick off, of course, I want to say a huge thank you to all of our partners and speakers who joined us for this session. We're really excited to bring you all to this program. We're going to have an amazing lineup of powerful influencers from across the Dominican Republic ecosystem, of course, people who are also a part of the network as well within Dominican Republic. A huge thank you to our partners, especially our Accelerator supporters from Google Cloud, AWS, IBM Cloud, HubSpot, SendGrid, and more. And we're going to be exploring for this annual edition of DR Tech Summit, the theme from tourism to tech hubs, shaping the future of the Dominican Republic. So this is going to be a very, very exciting content series of speakers that will be joining us here today for the summit. Again, huge thank you to all of our partners for making this happen, especially our local partners in the Dominican Republic. Salud, thank you so much for your support. Really a pleasure to work with you in this inaugural launch of DR Tech Summit. Now, again, you're going to be hearing from different speakers from across the landscape, both investors, entrepreneurs, tech enablers, even government policymakers in the country will be joining us today. I know today earlier we kicked off the program with a private stakeholder meeting. So right before we just launched just now, we had a private stakeholder meeting where we had roundtable discussions with different members of the DR tech community to talk about what is the future of DR, what do you like to see in the ecosystem, and we're so excited to hear their insight, get their feedback as we continue to iterate more editions every single year of this iconic program. This program is brought to you and powered by the global startup ecosystem. We are one of the largest tech platforms out there creating tech hubs around emerging markets. And we're so proud of the work that we do of scaling tech hubs around the world, especially in emerging market nations like the Dominican Republic. So shout out to the GSC team for another iconic addition in the GSC family. And our ecosystem engagement centers around three pillars: entrepreneurship, employment, and education. So a lot of our programming work and support is centered around empowering our ecosystems, empowering our communities through these three pillars of leadership that we go in terms of creating programs, summits, and initiatives like this one to bring stakeholders together throughout the year. GSC owns over 200 different global brands under management, and we're scaling as we speak. This year, we announced that we're going to be launching 100 summit programs next year as we continue to build and capitalize on accelerating ecosystem in emerging markets. So definitely check us out at globalstartupecosystem.com to hear about our sister brands and all the programs and the roadmap that we have envisioned to scale this vision and really meet the 17 Sustainable Development Goals by 2030 and being a pillar and some more supporting pillar number 17 in the SDG goals are really leveraging partnerships, support, and community to accelerate growth and opportunity for people in emerging market communities by leveraging technology and innovation. So, of course, we do have a private virtual career job fair that will be taking place today simultaneously with the summit. We had individuals apply to the Career Accelerator program powered by the Global Startup Ecosystem. And you'll hear more updates as we go into 2022 because we are launching national career service programs across the Caribbean region in the aim to upskill 1 million young people over the next decade. So take a look out for more updates regarding virtual career fairs and career accelerators that we'll be hosting across the Caribbean over the next couple of years. And of course, if you like what you see today, if you want to get more involved, there's many ways to contact us and get in touch with our events team and partner with us, amplify our mission, amplify our programming, but more importantly, be a part of the movement, join, participate, and amplify awareness amongst your community. So these are the different ways you can contact us via social media, via email. Of course, we are always accessible through all media channels and of course by email or in person at any of our live summits. So without further ado, I want to transition and say that, we've been hosting tech summits like this in many different markets. And so it was only right that as we announce the launch of DR Tech Summit, that we talk about, sister program, Haiti Tech Summit, that has been 5 years in the making. This year is actually the 5th annual edition of Haiti Tech Summit, known as the Davos of the Caribbean. We have brought tons of corporate partners and ecosystem and languages from around the world to accelerate the future of Haiti. And of course, I know by my accent, people are usually surprised to find that I'm also a Haitian. So definitely what started off as a personal endeavor has become a movement around the world. So a lot of tech programs that we initiate around the world owe a lot of the foresight and the innovation around this movement to Haiti. So just want to give a shout out to all my Haitian brothers and sisters who are also joining us for this program. We couldn't have launched DR Tech Summit if there wasn't a genesis of Haiti Tech Summit. So really proud to even dive into a little bit more about Haiti Tech Summit as a case study, because it is the blueprint that we leverage to scale this conversation in markets like Dominican Republic. And I'll start by saying that, when it comes to scaling conversations around technology, there's a patriotic duty that we have as citizens of the Caribbean, citizens of this world, to really reflect on the narrative of our nations, the narrative of our communities and the people that come from these communities. And for me, there was no better way to reframe the narrative and reframe the future of Haiti as a country than through a tech summit that brought influencers, stakeholders together to really accelerate the economy through innovation, thinking about how do we reinvigorate tourism, how do we scale up our digital industries, and really have these hard conversations. And so when we first launched Haiti Tech Summit back in 2017, we announced it as a 13-year roadmap, a 13-year initiative to transform Haiti into a mega international tech hub by 2030. And we have been in this mission, this movement ever since. Again, this is the 5th year that will be hosting Haiti Tech Summit. It actually will take place after DR Tech Summit next week. And we're proud of a lot of the work that we've done. If you could Google testimonials of people who've been a part of the Haiti Tech Summit experience. I have notoriously been told by so many different people who've participated or heard of Haiti Tech Summit. Sometimes we go to random gatherings around the world and we meet people like Haiti Tech Summit. I've heard so much. I've been a part. I'm a part of the membership community. It's really an inspiration to many who are involved, who've been a part of the Haiti Tech Summit vision and mission. So we're really proud of the work that we do in Haiti. And of course, we scaled this conversation. We had a road show in 2019 to about 15 different cities within the Haitian community. So Miami, Montreal, Accra, New York City, DC, California, OCOP, right? Port-au-Prince. We really scaled the conversation about what would Haiti look also with the participation of the diaspora. 60% of participants who contribute to the Haiti Tech Summit vision are from the diaspora community. And so bringing that mantle has obviously led to incredible impact in the country. There are dozens of outcomes of Haiti Tech Summit every single year, but some of the things that we're most proud of is bringing Facebook to Haiti, launching Airbnb in Haiti, where we partner with the Ministry of Tourism and to launch Airbnb in the country and change the tourism in the face of tourism within Haiti, bringing Google to Haiti to launch Launchpad Accelerator programs, and of course, supporting the launch of incubator spaces from across the country or chapters like Startup Grind to accelerate the growth of conversations where people can learn from other successful entrepreneurs in the country. I mean, we have been behind many, if not all, the tech initiatives and entrepreneurial initiatives within the country, and we're proud of that work. There's so many summits that spin off Haiti Tech Summit to indulge in the industry conversations because of Haiti Tech Summit. So we're really proud of being an enabler and really inspiring a long-term vision around how we can leverage tech to accelerate our country. And of course, this goes without mention. Haiti Tech Summit has featured all the top media moguls you could think of, from Jack Dorsey, the billionaire and founder of Twitter, to Tim Draper, billionaire VC, to Ben Horst, who's the investor in Facebook, Skype, Airbnb. We had celebrities who've been at our summits. And of course, we've had heads of states, like the former president, may he rest in peace, the president of the Republic, Jovenel Moïse, also join us for Haiti Tech Summit. So a lot of iconic speakers. Again, we're on a 13-year roadmap to really accelerate development within the country, and we center around these three pillars. And we're really proud, again, of the work that we've been able to do despite the challenges. I'm sure you can imagine the challenges we undergone as a community, as a team, to make this happen. And these are the stats. You could Google Haiti Tech Summit. You'll see thousands of articles about the work that we do, from articles to blogs to social media posts, in terms of our partnership and work with Forbes, Intuit, Black Enterprise, you name it. They've been a part of the vision. And so notoriously, we reach millions of views every single year. And of course, last year during the pandemic, we were able to shake things up, bring our iconic network together to really accelerate the conversation around Haiti Tech Summit. And it was amazing to see, Creole speakers, English speakers, everyone from around the world discuss the future of Haiti through the lens of technology and innovation. And so I want to give you guys a quick clip of people's experience of Haiti Tech Summit and why they believe that this has been a platform, not only for accelerating tech in the country, but also really making it a place for entrepreneurs to really build products and platforms for the future. So take a look at this clip where we partner with Forbes.
Fuel and Haitian Fuel and Haitian entrepreneur, the Haiti Tech Summit is the place to be. So we truly understand and appreciate the value of the Haiti Tech Summit to have such platforms such as Forbes 8 here with us.
Very excited and proud that Forbes is here to highlight the stories of entrepreneurs in Haiti. People don't see entrepreneurship and technology enough here. And the fact that Forbes made the trip, come to Haiti, highlight entrepreneurs, it's very dear to me because I understand what it means. And I really hope that these stories go far and people get excited about them and really change their mind about what they think about Haiti.
I think it's very important for Forbes to continue to support the Haiti Tech Summit. This initiative, it's a 13-year initiative, so they need ongoing corporate support.
I know this trip was not an easy one. Coming from a big company like Forbes and come to Haiti, I can easily say it's a risk, but I hope it is payoff in terms of meeting great Haitians that are engaged, especially those of us in the diaspora who so hungry to hear some good news about Haiti, who's so hungry to have the spotlight on us, and you guys are doing it. Thank you.
I want to thank Forbes for this opportunity. These kind of interactions in terms of being able to extend conversations beyond the room don't happen without a platform like Forbes. So I want to thank Forbes for this opportunity to be able to share my story and to share the story of the Haiti Tech Summit. Thank you very much.
So that was during our year in 2019 where we had a partnership with Forbes to really bring the stories of entrepreneurs to the global public. And of course, we've worked with the U.S. Embassy of Haiti to really sponsor and support Startup Lab editions where we're accelerating entrepreneurs from across the country, all different parts of Haiti, with really private interactions with corporate enablers, speakers, and of course, in our work in thriving and really accelerating entrepreneurship within the country, we also have been spearheading employment practices. Where last year during the pandemic, due to the constraints that was happening with the country, we launched Haiti's first digital career accelerator program, where we partnered with over 20 different companies, both within the country, within the diaspora, around the world, selected about 200 Haitian citizens to really undergo a multi-week accelerator program, a career accelerator program, and place at least half of them into remote internship companies to gain that experience, to be able to work remotely, and then half of them get placed and get actual job contract offers. So this program is actually continuing as we speak. So both initiatives that we've run in Haiti has been a way to really think critically about how do we empower our nation through technology. And these are two initiatives where we worked with so many different corporate and stakeholders to really accelerate the country and tackle entrepreneurship and employment crises within the country. With that said, I do want to take it back to last year's theme, because this was a very iconic theme for us as we hosted summits across the region. We are living in a very unique time, right? And I think many can agree that the pandemic is not over. We're still in transition. And last year, I want to bring to light, the conversation by the World Economic Forum regarding the Great Reset. And I just want to give you guys a quick clip and use this clip as a way to really think about our vision here today for Dominican Republic and the Tech Summit that we're hosting together, bringing all of you together, bringing stakeholders to discuss what does the future look like when it comes to accelerating a region, accelerating a country, with this lens in mind that there is a reset happening, there is a shift in society happening today. And what does that look like? Take a look at this clip. So just wanted to give you guys a glimpse, and hopefully you guys are looking more into this dialogue around the Great Reset. And with that said, as I, bring, this case study regarding Haiti Tech Summit to a close, I do want to share that, our vision is to really look at places that people don't look to when it comes to tech innovation, tech hotspots, where the next big thing could be coming from these markets. And yet we'll all have a unified vision that the only place of innovation is Silicon Valley. That narrative has been challenged and broken tenfold during this pandemic. And so as we accelerate and go across the Caribbean, I do want to welcome you guys to join us in the future for a future edition of the Caribbean Future Summit, where we talk about the region as a collective, what's happening across different markets, and of course, continuing this dialogue about the Caribbean's digital economy and how do we build a digital version of the region. Because of course, many of you can imagine that when it comes to our workforce across the Caribbean, we need to have a better way of really preparing our young people and the young talent of the region for this decade, this transformational opportunity that we probably gonna have once in a lifetime, right? So I look at this as the decade of workforce digitization. How do economies across the Caribbean, whether it's Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Barbados, Trinidad, Guyana, Jamaica, right? How do we look at digitizing our workforce and leveraging technology to really accelerate the talent that's amongst this region specifically? And so we have partnered with institutions to launch a national career service program across the region and really redefining our brands. Many people know the Caribbean as tourism hubs, but how do we also become tech hubs and diversify the Caribbean economy? I'm sure many of you who are on this call could raise your hand and say, like, we're more than just sun, sea, and sand, right? The Caribbean, especially when it comes to places like the Dominican Republic, we go beyond this. Like, there's so much to our countries in terms of our contributions to global economies that people could tap into. And how do we see that? And how do we plan for that and leverage the young talent that we have to do that? And of course, redefining how the diaspora taps into the Caribbean. We were thinking about, what is the discussion around remittances? We all know many of the Caribbean islands are heavily dependent on remittances of diaspora bringing money back home through obviously money transfer platforms. But how do we now employ and invest in talent, right? How do we go from remittances to remote work? These are the dialogues that the diaspora is tapping into when it comes to looking at the region, looking at the opportunities that are available. So we will be scaling this conversation in 2022. I am so excited to announce that we're doing an official Caribbean tour in 2022. Again, we already have Haiti Tech Summit as one of our iconic landmark programs within the GSC family. Today, we're launching the Dominican Republic Tech Summit program, and we will be scaling to other Caribbean islands next year, and that will include Jamaica, Barbados, Trinidad, Bahamas, Guyana, Bermuda, and Dominica and Aruba. So we're really, really pumped about this vision of really scaling and activating tech hubs across the Caribbean with historically the largest tech tour across the region. So this is really phenomenal. So I invite you to join us and really just, follow the hashtag, join us. You can register for free to any of these programs and join us as we continue this vision. So with that said, I'm here to again welcome you officially to the first annual DR Tech Summit. We're so excited to launch this initiative, to launch this with so many unique stakeholders within the Dominican Republic who are excited and proud of their country, of what they've done over the past couple of years. And I'm excited to welcome the iconic lineup of speakers that we have. Our first keynote will be joining us. Gabriel Fernandez will be joining us. He's the manager of Innovation Lab, will be joining us here as the first keynote speaker, followed by a series of panels, keynotes, and of course, more dialogue as we again explore the theme of from tourism hubs to tech hubs, shaping the future of the Dominican Republic. So many of you, if you check out the drtechsummit.com, you'll see a full agenda lineup. Again, we kick off today with a private stakeholder meeting from 10 to 10:30. We had invited stakeholders from the community who registered to join us to tell us and share thought leadership of where do you see the Dominican Republic heading? How can we accelerate this dialogue? How can we make more opportunities abundantly available to the ecosystem to scale tech and innovation practices within the country? Phenomenal insights. Looking forward to sharing updates with the community about the takeaway messages from that stakeholder meeting. And of course, now we're here at the kickoff of the Tech Summit to the public. So thank you again for joining us live. And of course, again, like I shared, it's going to be a very action-packed agenda of speakers. You could obviously engage with us live via all social media channels, but we highly suggest that you follow along via YouTube through our GSC TV channel. And of course, there is simultaneous live network via Zoom with some of our private stakeholders. So definitely stay in touch and network. chat on the chat feed, comment, ask questions to the speakers. Speakers will be answering questions live throughout the day, and really immerse yourself into that. So with that said, I want to formally introduce myself. My name is Christine and Tim. I'm the founder of Haiti Tech Summit and the CEO of the Global Startup Ecosystem. Welcome again to the kickoff of DR Tech Summit. And next coming up, we're going to have our first headline speaker join us. So stay tuned. I'm really excited to welcome him to the summit. He's going to be joining us in the next 2 minutes. But in the meantime, let's take a brief 30-second clip just to get you guys pumped up as we welcome our first keynote speaker to the lineup today. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so excited to welcome our first keynote speaker in the next 30 seconds. We're going to have Gabriel Fernandez, Manager of Innovation Lab at the Government Office of Information and Communication Technologies of the Dominican Republic, is going to join us in 30 seconds. Let's get the countdown ready and welcome him on the main stage. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Please give a resounding virtual applause and welcome Gabriel. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Thank you very much, Christine. It is an honor. I'm very good. How are you?
Great indeed. So I'm going to pass it over to you and let you kick off with keynote remarks. Thank you again for accepting our invitation.
Thank you. I really appreciate the intro that you gave, basically because the World Economic Forum, the Great Reset video also gives a brief introduction to what we want to pinpoint today, because we do all have a role. Basically, it is important to understand said role and to work towards it. And coming from government, the Oficina Gubernamental de Tecnologías de la Información y Comunicación, we know that we have to be a platform. We have to be an enabling institution so that the ecosystem can sustain all the things that you specified, about the workforce, about the innovation onset, and we are here joining the conversation to do just that. Also, I just very briefly want to say that I'm very honored to be here as a speaker, also with a panel that comes after this with amazing people, very talented, from whom we work from Octig, and we have worked before also. And let's get right into it. So the main topic, of course, of this introduction is how do we go from tourism to tech hub, and how we push this change of paradigm. And basically, from government, from our office, we understand that one of the main aspects for all this is the building blocks that are the cities. So we are working right now in a smart cities master plan, which works in going to cities and making a discover phase, trying to find those key aspects that we can push the cities to be welcoming hubs to talent, to innovators, to everyone who also wants to put the name of the country in the best scenario possible. So we are working on pilot projects from Octig, and the smart cities scenario. Basically, what we are trying to do with this method is to work on the road and to be able to test what is working, how it's working. These pilot projects are 4 at the moment, and basically they are important to the topic because one of them is basically a tourism destination that we are turning in a national project to have it being smart and to install all these technologies and methodologies to make it sustainable. And so we also are working on this Distrito Nacional, Santo Domingo Este, Santiago, which are main cities of the country, and we will give you details in a second. So to begin with, we need to define what we are working as a smart city. We partnered with the Inter-American Development Bank for said definition. And basically what we are focusing on is making an improvement of data availability for decision-making. We are working on physical projects to make operations of the city more efficient. We want to improve urban services, competitiveness of businesses, and basically what I said from the beginning, be this enabling platform so the private sector can also attract talent and build, let's say, the next technologies and apps and everything of the future. Also being able to export said potential that we know that the country has for current and future generations. So we are working on cornerstones to be able to develop these projects on these smart cities and touristic destinations. Basically, what we are trying to make sure is that within every single project that we work on, from Pedernales to Distrito Nacional, we take projects to push this initiative of smart cities and make sure that it is sustainable, that it is technology-based, that it has one of the key aspects, which is connectivity. It is inclusive, accessible, and of course, given the fact that we are trying to work on real issues, let's say, for instance, trash collection, we need to try to find a new perspective on how to solve this issue. So we also have a cornerstone of innovation within the project. And then we go on to the dimensions of what a smart city has to work on what we are working on each city to solve. First is the governance. As you know, we have local governments and national governments. We are starting to focus on how to improve public services mainly, and how do we involve the citizens and in the decision making, and also in the planning of the well-being of the city, of course. And we base all this on data. We know that government in all its levels constructs and gathers dozens of databases and has a very big availability of all this data, which needs to be used in order to make evidence-based actions and to not leave anyone behind as one of the main pillars of what we're doing. We then go to one of the aspects you briefly talked to, which is smart tourism, that we mainly focus on how to help the ecosystem be more welcoming to businesses which are not traditional and that are basically developing apps, websites, electronic devices, also sustained by innovation, a skilled and talented labor workforce, and pushing entrepreneurial projects for this. Then we move on to citizenship, which is basically how does the average citizen, everyday citizen, gets involved within this project of smart city, and basically he gets integrated into it. And then to smart well-being. Of course, there are key aspects that when you think of issues have to come first. That goes to security, health, culture, leisure, and social affairs. All this, what we try to make sure is how is the actual panorama, ongoing situations affecting people, and if there are mechanisms in which we can employ resources to improve them. Basically, what we're doing here in the pilot projects that we're doing is taking small problems that we know that affect very deeply people and consult them and try to build with them this mini projects. We'll get to that in a second. And then we have the smart environment, which is an efficiency of the energy, water, sanitation, urban environment, waste management, and one of the ones that I really love and really like working on, which is mobility, which is a fundamental aspect in order to be able to promote this ecosystem and this building blocks that we are, which are on infrastructure, transportation, parking, connectivity, and accessibility. So what we do with those dimensions, then we work on the pillars that basically this is how we see the work being done. As a result, we will base it in communication interfaces, integrated operation control centers, which are very connected as to how does the public interact with this city in a smart way. Sorry. And then how do we make available said interfaces, right, with this control and operation centers. And then we go on to the sensors and connectivity devices and infrastructure connectivity, which to us are an automated way, to be able to gather very essential indicators as to how is the city moving, how are services being provided, and how these situations can be tackled, right? And we work all this from principles to adopt set technologies, right? Which are three that are very connected, which is basically how we focus on people. If we focus on people, it has to be easy and it has to be accessible. And any type of project and technology that we are already working on focus on these three in the matter of the citizens. Then we work on more technical aspects that are standards for making sure that we have continuity in whatever we're working on. We also promote open source solutions in order to have as many collaborations possible available. And we promote also that the community is involved and trained on literacy of what is going on, how they can participate, and how they can use these technologies that we are building and projects that we are constructing in order to improve their daily lives, right? And after that, we go to the roadmap as to what we are actually doing with such cities. So we are, and I want to do an example here. Pedernales, which is already being deployed as a strategy. We begin identifying the leaderships, right? The ones that are going to move the resources or are going to go out and find the collaborations. We build a technical team. We went on to identify which are the main issues, doing this in a co-creation space with the communities. We diagnose those and then proceeded to see which technologies we understand that are more feasible. And we then went to create a strategy for financing. And we are currently actually working on the partnerships, which private sector is a key partner in making these projects real. We are at the moment deploying the action plan with a couple of pilot projects, basically, and more focused on energy and trash collection. And we are after this, we are right now doing that work. If it proves to be a better solution, which is the main focus of a pilot, to execute it at city level and then to continue on other cities. And of course, making sure that whatever we establish in a city and a project has a plan to be continued after it's being executed. And for the cities that we discussed at the beginning, there are different stages that you need to understand in order to be able to realistically work with them. So we do a discovery phase in each one of them to understand where we're at and how we can move towards a more integral stage of Tech City, which is the first initial where the city only includes planning, formulating, and design. Then it moves to intentional, which is when we are making sure that there is this layer of connectivity, digitization, data that will help support all the projects. Then we move to an emerging state, which is when it is already it has a sensorization project that already is interacting with the city in order to be able to get all this interesting data to further support this initiative. And then it goes to when it is already an ecosystem that is working nonstop and in cycles to make it a smart territory or city. So once we know what stage we're at, we work from a prioritization of the problems and the issues that we identified within the roadmap. What we did was the detail what are the aspects that would affect the execution of a project, and we have weighted those into the ones that we understand are more impacting and the ones that are support. And we are actually making them then in a scale in order to know where to put resources first, and then which projects then help others get on track. So it goes in planning and execution, human resources availability, project scope, and then we go on to these that are more of support, which is the planning time, the risks, the public opinion, and the enabling projects. Which in enabling projects, there are major requirements that we are currently working with public sector partners, which are in charge of, for instance, the connectivity and of remote destinations and more unavailable sectors of the cities that we're working on. And basically, we wanted to show you this, which is the Plan de Ciudades Inteligentes, because we understand that it is very important to push for a objective. And from Tourism to Tech Hub, is the main objective is clear, is to be able to create a sense of community that supports, right, all this talent and new businesses, new applications, very interconnected. But in order to do that, we have a main role into being that layer that supports all this happening. And we are working on this basically with this plan that is ongoing, and that we know that all key partners, which we should keep on discussing the possibility of getting you on board with it, are very interested and looking forward to the results of said plan. I really think that we, and I should stop this, that we as a country really do have a very important momentum right now, and that the thing about what we are doing at the moment within Optic and what are the other strategies like the digital transformation strategy and the innovation strategy that we're working on. What mainly pushes us towards is in a way, leveling the field in order to be able to compete and be able to actually put the country, and I agree with Christine and the thing that she said, also the entire region, the entire Caribbean, on the spotlight of what a tech hub would be. Not just mainly a services economy, but a digital economy, which is what we're working towards to achieving. And I really appreciate this opportunity, and thank you. Okay, that's it.
Thank you again, Gabriel. And I really appreciate the presentation you provided to the community. It's so awesome to see, what, their department is doing within the government to really innovate. And again, this is just to show you that it takes the entire ecosystem to accelerate tech hubs within a country, within a region. government is issuing policy, initiative, pilots. I mean, whatever you could think of to contribute to this dialogue, everyone in an ecosystem has its place. So please give me a warm round of virtual applause for our first keynote speaker for the Dominican Republic Tech Summit. Again, it was a pleasure to have Gabriel, the manager of Innovation Labs at the Government Office of Information and Communication Technologies of the Dominican Republic. So without further ado, we are going to be transitioning to our first panel of the session. I'm really excited to welcome these amazing speakers for this kickoff. So without further ado, let's just get a quick, energy buzz to get you guys going. And then we're going to introduce this amazing panel to the session. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's my warm welcome to welcome our speakers for the tech ecosystem builders and influencers, how to rebuild, reignite, and reposition tech for the future. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to our moderator, Boosie, who's going to be kicking off this panel. Boosie, I pass it over to you to welcome the panel to the session. Boosie, you're on mute.
Oh my goodness. I would think I would do it better, Aria. But anyways, thank you, Christine. It's such an honor to be part of this the first DR Tech Summit, together with such amazing panelists. My name is Boosie Matsiko Anden. I'm the executive director of the Africa Future Summit and the as well as global strategist at Pont Global. And with me, I have an amazing panel with Michael Moder, Richard Picardo, Luis Senner, Franklin Ramirez, Jorge Vargas. And these amazing people, they're influencers as well as tech innovators. And they will be telling us more about their companies as well as what they do. And I mean, we don't have much time, so we will definitely compress the questions. And we have about 5 minutes each. So I'll just tell me a little bit about your background and how it brought you to work on what you do, and also how it connects you to diversity and inclusion. I will start with Michael Moder.
Hi. First of all, thanks so much for the invitation. So, my name is Michael. I'm the founder and CEO of UltraState. It's an all-in-one cloud solution for real estate agencies. And so, a little bit about me. So I started building software for a company here in the Dominican Republic, building the websites, the online presence. And then in 2019, when I decided to build UltraState, was basically just a platform where they could put all the information of their company. Through the years, we've had hundreds of meetings with different clients. Thankfully, the ecosystem over here in the Dominican Republic has supported us a lot. And right now we have over 2,000 real estate brokers active using the platform. So
regarding
UltraState, yeah. So regarding diversity, we actually in the team, we have people from all over the country, over here in the Dominican Republic, but also outside the Dominican Republic. We have people from Mexico, Colombia, Venezuela, and here in the DR. It's basically that. We have small team that place, so trying to grow from there.
Oh, thank you so much, Michael. And I'll take it to Jorge Vargas, who is the founder of the managing partner of Venture Do. So tell us about how you got started and how you deal with diversity and inclusion.
Hi. Yeah, so just like Michael, I'm a software developer. I started working with technology long time ago. My first company is actually a software development company. It's called Conmira. And from my work with different clients, I started to get involved into entrepreneurship in general. I always like that, very early stage about trying to build a product rather than managing the company. So it naturally went to startups. And a couple of years ago, we basically started getting involved in the ecosystem, and that's how Venture was built. We started doing events. We started doing a Startup Weekend, Hackers and Founders, and several different events for the community, which led to trying to find, what's the best talent, which are the best companies, which is what turned into the Accelerator program, which is what turned into our venture studio. And eventually, we started funding some companies, and our goal is to build a venture fund in the future. As for your second
Fantastic.
question, we actually do, and this is actually quite interesting. Like about 50% of our successful companies are the CEO is a woman, but we don't advertise that. We believe that in equal opportunities, and we believe in everyone being welcome. So even though we don't advertise our inclusion policies, we have been doing that since the start. Like half my management staff in my software company, they're females, and overall about 40% of the people that work with us are women, which is quite high for the tech industry. But again, that's something that just naturally comes. It's not that we're actively looking for females to join. It's just that they're the best candidates for most of the positions that we have, right? So yeah, I guess that's kind of like our policy is that we don't have an actual policy. We just try to
You
find
just
the
do it.
best person for the job.
You've been involved in it.
Regardless of what's their whatever agenda people have. We're just looking for good people to develop good products, and that's basically what we're looking for.
Fantastic. Oh, thank you so much for that insight. And yes, I'll go to Mr. Richard Picardo. I hope I pronounced your name and well. And you're the growth strategist and build at Reef. Please tell us more about that, as well as what got you started and how you connect to diversity and inclusion.
For sure. Definitely thank you for having me today. So actually, I started in the technology world coming from a NGO and governmental perspective of things. I was trying to work with the United Nations at the time, I remember. When I started to see kind of all the bureaucratics and the politics that are involved in that process in order to implement social change, I discovered the concept of social entrepreneurship. And I was like, okay, this is perfect. I'm able to, through business and through money making, also make a positive impact in the world. And that really introduced me into the world of technological startups. After that, I have worked in multiple startups in multiple countries. And currently, like Reef is based out of Miami. We have operations in North America, London and Dubai, and well, there and I'm mentioning this because this is where inclusion comes in. A lot of what we do is about allowing local entrepreneurs to sell their products faster and easier to the population. We are what we call a proximity as a service company. So if you want to expand, let's say you sell chocolates, you want to start selling chocolates in Dubai tomorrow, well, you come to me and then I'll give you the platform in order to be able to do that, for less 30-40% less than if you would have to have a brick and mortar store, and it's significantly faster in less than a month. So, here there's a strong component of how do I help the local ecosystem of each company, of each country and city reach different parts of the city as well as going into other ones. So that's one part. The other part of diversity and inclusion is, I am also currently advising in a startup studio called Polymath Ventures that's based in Colombia. And here, I would tell you only 40% of the employees are Colombian. The rest are literally from all over the world. There's more than 40 countries represented. So, for us, it's extremely important to bring in the best people, and it doesn't matter where they are, what's their background, as long as they're able to provide, the value that we're looking for.
Thank you so much, Richard, for that insight with Reef and Franklin Ramirez. You're the senior strategic partner at TikTok. And so tell us how your career came about, as well as how you connect with diversity and inclusion.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for having me here. Really excited. I started my career in 2013 at Twitter, where I was working just as an associate partner. I was a child then, wow. And it was increasingly clear during my time in this predominantly, white space that there wasn't a lot of us there. So then that's when I started to realize that this is something bigger than me and bigger than anyone else. It's sort of like every room that I walk in, or like every hallway that I walk in, I'm not only representing myself, but I'm also representing a whole group of people and that comes with a lot of responsibility. Mm-hmm. So my work within the inclusion space has come in the form of starting the Latinx group at Twitter. It's called Twitter Allies. It's now huge. Ever since I've moved on from Twitter and now work at TikTok, an amazing company, love it. And I think I continue to do my work through the way that I show up and how I advise others that come, after me, which I think is really the key thing with inclusion. People think that just participating and being included within the group is
You're an ambassador.
Right. But you also should think about what is your role within the group. There's no need to just include us when we remain on a lower level role. The really good inclusion and representation comes at all different levels. And I hope that one day we accomplish it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm saving the best for the last. Louis Senior, with EduPass. Please tell us about your career growth, your path, as well as how you identify with diversity and inclusion.
Well, yeah, so basically what EduPass does is help students access college. So we help students navigate the transition from high school to college, or from college to the first job. So in terms of diversity, 80% of our clients are female. And the reason why is because 75% of the students in Dominican Republic in higher education are females. So the majority of the students that are eligible to pursue further studies, meaning graduate studies, are females. And in our company, 85% of our team are women as well. Women are more educated here than men. So that's very interesting, and see how that's going to play in the future for the development of the human capital in the Dominican Republic. And in terms of the work we do, we also work with universities, helping them establish career development programs. So helping students prepare for that first job. As you may know, only 20% of the population has a college degree. So it's very limited in the type of skills that they have for more sophisticated tech-driven jobs. So it's very interesting to have a tech summit, because it might motivate some of them to acquire additional skill work related to tech-driven job, available out there. And in my journey, it's been a long journey. I've done many things. I advise the government on innovation, and I consult privately with several universities as well. I'm a college professor in several universities as well. So I keep myself busy trying to, change the system through educating the next workforce in development available in the country.
Oh, wonderful. Yes, I love the way that all of you talk about the different ways of, your amazing career paths, and basically just demonstrating excellence in wherever you show up, and by utilizing that space, you're able to impart it on others, and not just speak it, but walk the walk and talk the talk. And how you're able to include others regardless of where they're from, based on their abilities and excellence. And I continue to encourage you to keep up the fights, and I'm very encouraged by that. So that moves us to our second piece, which is, please share your insight on the state of the tech ecosystem in the DR. Any initiatives, programs, or projects that your institution is doing to empower the involvement in the tech ecosystem. I will start with Richard. We have about a minute to go over this.
Yes. All right. So, my first comment on my perception of the ecosystem of the DR is that it's definitely grown. I've been involved in it, I would say, around 10 years now. So now I do feel that we're having higher quality products, businesses, right? And now I think we are overcoming the small business mindset and really thinking as a high growth startups. Like, it's not only about serving the Dominican market, but using our strengths locally in order to expand to other places as well. So that's my main comment on how we're doing there. There's definitely certain limitations regarding funding, but that's also have been improving as investors start to be more and more open to this kinds of projects. In terms of my institution, so Reef itself is not currently in the DR, but Polymath Ventures is trying to enter it through something that I particularly like, and that's corporate innovation, right? I think that this is it's an interesting strategy, not only to, like, as a business itself, Polymath as a business, as a startup studio, to continue to have a sustainable business, right? But really as a way to promote entrepreneurship in our local ecosystem. With corporate strategy and innovation, you approach a company and you help them build innovation in their company. And that can come up as a project, or hopefully a startup that can sell other companies as well. So, I think that with this approach, it's a completely new layer, that it's small, but it's growing, and that's where I think my institution. It's an opportunity that I particularly like, that Polymath is currently exploring.
Fantastic. Yes, yeah. Thank you for that.
You told me 1 minute, right? So I
yes, because I don't want you to miss out on sharing your insights, because we don't have much time. I know this will be a conversation that could continue offline or at other summits. Ongoing summit. So that will take us to Richard. No, I've already said Richard. Jorge Vargas, please share your insights.
Yeah, sure. So I agree 100% with what Rico was saying. Definitely, I think that the most important thing that has happened in the last 10 years is that you see a change in mentality from startup founders, and they're thinking about building products from here to serve the world. That's definitely happening. There's a couple of companies that are already doing it, that are already making, I call it they're bringing in more money into the country than the one that they're putting outside. So definitely looking for those companies, helping them out, working for those companies is probably one of the best things that we can do as a country. Thing number two, well, of course, we run a yearly program. Our program starts actually next Thursday is the last event. Is going to be a public event. If anyone wants to go check it out, which is the graduation from this year. January we open for the next batch, and we have seen this, better projects every year, right?
Congratulations.
So thank you very much. So that's something that we're definitely working on. Our program is doing. We start with 20 to 30 companies every year, and that's something that it's definitely one of the main things that we're doing in order to help the local ecosystem. And then the other thing that I know that is happening and it is very good is that the quality of the local events, things like CoCamp, things like Dominican Development Conference, there's a bunch of different events happening all year round, which, sadly, due to COVID, most of them had to either go online or just not happen at all. But I know that most of them, all the local organizations are planning for 2022 to reboot the events back to what they used to be. So that's something that is also happening a lot. And things that we're doing, well, I already mentioned the program. We're definitely gonna keep that one up. The other thing that we're doing that is helping a lot locally is
Richard,
there's several
sorry to
events, as I said, that are
interrupt you in
happening.
that. Maybe you can add that to when you're doing your closing statements, because we're running out of time, and I would like everyone to have at least a chance within the 1 minute to talk about
No problem.
what they're doing. So, Franklin, just tell us what you're doing or what plans you intend to do in the DR with regards to the DR ecosystem.
I don't know if I specifically plan to do anything within the Dominican Republic to fix the tech ecosystem, but I would love to learn ways in which we can hear from the US as Dominicans in the diaspora help advance that conversation. One thing that I do notice in the Dominican Republic, and this brings back to Luis's point, whom I want to give some time because I think he's doing fascinating work. All of you guys are, but I'm really interested in educating the community. I think we lost her. Did we? We did. Well, I'll just continue.
I think.
Yeah, she's gone again. So I think that a lot of the work that needs to be done is probably around having access to education, right? And how can we continue to educate people so they can understand the opportunities that they have and the options that they have that are outside of what they've been taught to believe that they can and can't do. One of the main things that I think it's important is, and I don't know the exact numbers of this, but would love to understand what is the internet accessibility rate within the Dominican Republic? Because ultimately, if we have a really low just access to the very thing that provides the options for people to learn, then I think we're very limited in that way. So when it comes to helping tech, I don't have any specific plans, but I would love to learn how we can continue to advance what education, accessibility, and equity within the society looks like.
Well said. And before I pass it on, because I know Busi is going to join us back on the panel, I think, internet connectivity is always the basis of whether we could build tech companies and scale. And I think, frankly, you added a really good point. I know, Richard, you added the component of corporate innovation. How do we get the corporate ecosystem to get involved to really scale technology? But I do want to hear a little bit more, even from Luis. You're launching a platform where EdTech right now is big, especially during this pandemic as we go more virtual. It may not specifically be a conversation about how you're going to accelerate the Dominican Republic tech ecosystem, but how are you becoming almost like a case study of what's possible for the region? So I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, so in alliance with Jorge from Venture and Codemera, we're building the first Dominican Bootcamp. And we already have 15 students that are starting in January. Bootcamp has become the new pathway for higher education because bootcamps allow students to learn faster, meaningful competencies to get a meaningful job and a job that pays better with better conditions and remote jobs. So we're launching the first and only bootcamp available in the Dominican Republic. It's called Alternate Academy, alternate as an alternate option to the pathway for higher education. And we plan to do it regionally. We're starting in Dominican, but our goal is to empower the human capital so they can access the jobs available abroad. Like Franklin was saying, someone from here can code for someone in New York or in Brazil or Colombia. So yeah, we're very excited to launch our first cohort. There was a lot of demand. We didn't expect that because we didn't know that people understood what the concept of a bootcamp is. And we're getting some corporate partners as well to co-sponsor students with scholarship opportunities, and even their workforce, their internal workforce that needs an upskilling in their abilities for technology. So we're very excited to be helping people access meaningful and relevant skills for the new jobs of the fourth industrial revolution.
Question for you, Luis. How are you making this? I think this is fantastic. I love it. How are you making, like, how are you marketing it? Like how, like what groups within the city are you going towards? And is there any way in which any of us or any of our friends, I know my friends would love to get involved?
Yeah, there are many ways of getting involved. And what we did, we went to the cluster sub. So the where all the technology companies are put together, there's like a coalition, and Jorge belongs there through his software company. So he can tell you more later all about it. And we got together and we built a curriculum that was already approved by people that hired these people. So for full stack development or coding or backend or front end or Q&A, like we got a specific syllabus that was designed for people that will actually perform those jobs. So that's why it's a two-way street, but to make sure that people are studying and learning the right skills to get the job. And there are companies waiting for those people already.
Right.
So we're going to have a high level of employment. Like pretty much all of the students will be hireable as soon as they're done. So
I would
that's
love to connect, because I think there is a way to have like people like me that work at TikTok, Google, Instagram. I know Dominicans in every company to also give you feedback on that syllabus and like what that looks like. And like we can even go in further and look at it by types of jobs. So I would love to connect. I'll find you on Instagram and we can talk offline.
Yeah. I am beaming right now to see what just happened live at DR Tech Summit. And frankly, you said it so well. Like, you know, you may not be in Dominican Republic, but you said beautifully, how do we market it, right? How do we get the word out there? Luis, you just said that you already connected to Jorge, you know, to really connect and build on this curriculum. And I look forward to seeing, obviously at DR Tech Summit, we could blast it and get more people to apply. But you mentioned something about scarcity that, you know, you didn't even think that people even understood the concept of a boot camp. And this is the conversations we should be having when it comes to how do you build a tech ecosystem? Sometimes it's just about starting. And I don't think we do enough piloting and starting. And so I want to pass over to Michael right now to hear his thoughts about how he's contributing to the DR Tech ecosystem, or just what you're working on to really build on what's happening. And I'm going to bring Boosie on to continue this dialogue, because this is amazing, everyone. Thank you so much for sharing this. Michael, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. So basically what Alter State we're doing is we're giving access. We have
Hi guys, I'm back. Lovely.
Hi, good to have you. So again, at Alter State, we have one of the biggest database of real estate properties in the DR. And what we're doing is basically, there's a problem in Latin America that you can't access the information of a property. You can know how much a property costs in a specific sector. You can know what's the difference between a property with 2 bedrooms or 3 bedrooms. And what we're doing is, since we have basically mostly all the brokers over here in the DR, we're giving them access to know exactly how much a property costs. And we are investing a lot of money in basically data analytics and machine learning progress so that they can know at the moment of just going to a property, know how much it costs, how the market behave, and how the price is going to be in the upcoming years. So
fantastic.
Besides that, we're trying to, with another company that is called Motivus, we recently launched something that's called PropTech DR, which is property technology, small organization to basically let everyone know that from the DR, we are building startups that focus on the real estate segment, and basically inviting everyone that wants to encourage everyone that wants to build a company for the real segment, invite them to this organization so they can access information that you can't find anywhere, not even in the government. So, for example, again, access to that information from different agencies and the market sector is up.
That's fantastic. I mean, all this sharing of information is critical, especially as an ecosystem grows, and the collaborations, the sharing of information. And, I mean, I'm just impressed by how much value and impact you're causing in your companies and affecting the communities around you. And I mean, I'm just in awe. So I'll come back to Jorge. Jorge, did I say your name properly?
Yes.
Okay, Jorge. Yes, Jorge. I'm just. I would like you to go back to what you were saying before I interrupted you, because I just wanted everybody to at least have a chance of voicing out the ideas before we could be. I didn't want us to be cut off. So you can go into what you were going to say, and then you can give your closing remarks, which
Right.
could include in the coming years, what change or improvements do you hope to see as a result of what your company is doing? Thank you so much.
Right. Sure, no problem. And don't worry. So I'll try to summarize it. But basically, and this is actually, as you notice, it's actually beyond what the core company is doing. But basically, we're trying to build three different pillars. So pillar number one is everything that we're talking about education with Altern Academy, with the partner with Luis, Eduardo, which is our other partner in Alterna. We're trying to raise the base level of what a programmer is, and we're going to start with software, but the idea is that we can keep on going into either deeper things, both in tech and maybe even in non-tech, like data science, blockchain, all the different things. Because by raising the bar, by having better starting capital and better starting human capital in this sense, you're gonna have two different things. You're gonna have companies like my company, like other software companies like Michael's, and other outsourcing companies. They're gonna have better talent, which means that they're gonna be able to have better rates, which means that they're gonna be able to charge more and give better salaries to their employees. So that's pillar number two, which is establish working business models, consulting, outsourcing, staff augmentation, things that we already know that work, right? And then pillar number three, which is what we're doing with venture, is let's take companies that are already working and help them fix the things that they maybe skip because the typical saying that in Latin America, most startups just start working and then they fix things as they go. So let's help them be able to scale, be able to grow. And then the other part that we do with ventures that we take ideas from scratch, starting, we build a team around it,
Amazing.
which is what we did with Alterna itself. They started about a year ago. It was like, hey, we know that there's a problem in education. And then, a year later, we have a working team in fact, I was checking the chat and they're like, oh my God, they're talking about us. It's like, yeah, this is actually happening because we have been working about a year on it. So, it sounds great. And
Awesome.
Franklin, we definitely, let's talk about it. More than welcome to see how you and others can help. Because, overall, and, just like closing statement in that sense, everything that we're doing, the idea is that they have to be profitable, they have to be companies, but they have to be community based. Because in the end, if we don't build a community around any of those things, uh, you know, somewhere down the line, 5, 10, 20 years down the line that I'm not here, who's going to keep doing it? And if there's a community around it, then the company itself will keep growing afterwards. And that's kind of like the three pillars that we're looking for next year.
I'm particularly interested in learning though, how do we build a community of people who don't usually have access to these things more than people who know. So yeah, I would love to help. We go to underrepresented
So I
areas.
think that would help. That would lead Franklin into your closing statements with what you think could come out of this, as well as what you think your company could do, or what you could do to help aid companies such as Venture Do, Reef, EduPass, Alter Estates, and others that going into this ecosystem?
I don't know what I can do to help. I think the first thing that we can do, and I think the most important thing, is for us to meet one another, right? And
absolutely,
and connect and find out ways in which we can help each other advance the agenda of making a more equitable and accessible space in terms of skills or professional opportunities for all people within the Dominican Republic. And that's sort of how I think Dominicans in the diaspora in the U.S. can help, because we might not know the country like our parents do, because we might not have been born there or like grown up there, but we still want to help, and we still want to make sure that we're giving back. And that's how I think
exploring the synergies.
Right.
Yes, and potential collaborations, and I think that's deep. I believe in the segue between the diaspora and the people on the ground. It's phenomenal. There's power. There's a proverb which says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I think this is an example of such, And Louis, what would you say about what's happening, the opportunities, as well as, in your closing remarks, what you think this could come out of this dialogue, and,
as you mentioned, our theory of change is investing at the individual level, because the individual is the unit of a member of a society. The more opportunities an individual has, the better educational decisions that individual is able to make that will translate into economic prosperity. So that's what we believe the platform should be, giving the people access to opportunities to learn about other options available out there that they don't necessarily know, because they're in the bubble of developing economy. They don't understand everything that is happening, and we're building the bridge. And as Franklin was saying, collaborating together with different Dominicans abroad, or even other countries that are already participating into this bootcamp landscape. There are more than 50 bootcamps in LATAM. It's becoming the next, edtech thing. And we believe we want to be part of that as a country and work together to create more meaningful jobs and better quality of lives.
Thank you so much, Michael. You're doing a lot of stuff on the ground, and you probably experienced a lot with regards to mindset, both in the diaspora and in the DR. What do you see that could be changed, or what improvements do you hope to see as a result of what your company is doing with regards to mindset change, and how we can bridge the gap?
Definitely. So there's the thing, the one with the data for the real estate, and with that initiative, it will definitely change the way the people do business over here, specifically on buying a property. Because since you can't access that information publicly, you don't know if you're buying something that is good, And we have, with the years doing working in Alter State, we have definitely been able to, in some way, change the way the real estate brokers think and operate. And I believe that we have made a big impact, at least in that specific sector. And with the PropTech DR initiative, we definitely want to put the Dominican Republic in the eyes of venture capital firms, so that they want to invest in startups over here in the Dominican Republic, hopefully, and specifically in the PropTech ecosystem. But the main reason is so people know that from the DR, we can build amazing tech products and maybe one day become a tech hub in the region. The same thing is happening in countries like Colombia or Mexico. But I do strongly believe that we have a lot of talent over here. We just need things like, for example, Alterna, which is something that Luis and Jorge are building. So yeah, definitely a lot of potential over here.
Wonderful. I'm enjoying this dialogue, and I just believe that there's so much offline that's going to transpire as a result of this. Richard, share your thoughts on what you think could come out of this on your part. With regards to Reef or your other companies you're working with regards.
Of course. So the first thing I want to say is, I'm super excited about what Michael mentioned, because I'm a person that deeply believes in the power of transparency and on leveraging data in order to make businesses. And so I think that whenever you open that door, It doesn't matter what kind of data it is, but it really allows you to see where there is a lack of efficiency and where there are opportunities that can really help move an industry in a better direction. So, it really excites me to hear that. And I do want to mention 3 things that are the ones that Polymath and, I as a person as well want to focus on. So the first one is kind of, following up on the spirit of transparency would be government policy. I don't want to just say government because everybody thinks that the government needs to do better. But what I particularly want to talk about here is the obstacles that can, regulations can have for a launch of a new business, for innovation. In Reef, that's something that I consistently face and that doesn't allow me to grow as fast as I want to. So that's something that we need to continue to be a part of. And thank you, Luis, for being a representative voice, as well as Jorge on that. So that's the first thing. The second one is culture. I think that's why I mentioned corporate innovation, because it really addresses something that I have seen, which is, how much does the big corporations in the Dominican Republic, and actually just our regular society, values innovation. I think there's a fear of going with innovation. And so, maybe it comes with a lot of financial commitments, maybe it's not necessary, status quo is more comfortable. So, I think that's something else that with education, we can tackle both within companies and outside. And then also, kind of embracing failure. And the third part is people, okay? And for here, what I really want to see, and what I'm really trying to work for, is I want us to have a DR mafia. And this kind of cycle of coming from an entrepreneur, making money, and then having the experience and the money to invest in other entrepreneurs, I think that's the most crucial part to have a successful startup ecosystem. And that's what I'm really hoping to see here, and that we can support to see that and make that happen.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I mean, this has been an amazing dialogue. I'm just in awe of what you've been doing, and I wish you all the best in everything you do. And I know this is just the tip of the iceberg. And one of the things that I'm so fascinated, I'm big on, is, yes, the mindset and the collaborations between the diaspora and the people in the DR Republic or wherever you're working. The importance of looking at the locals as partners and not just trying to impart your information on them. And so that's what I'm really seeing, that, listening to and making a hybrid, because communication is key. It's not that there's a word, I see it with the Africa Future Summit, where people say there's a Bintu mentality with sometimes people from the diaspora. You think you can go and impose information on people on the ground. And yet when you collaborate and have synergies, you'll actually get a lot done, and you'll be respected, and you'll achieve more, and just those innovations. So I'm seeing that's what you're doing, and I'm so happy about this change and this growth. And I just see next year, I just can't wait to hear what updates have resulted as a result of this, your continued dialogues. And I'd like to thank the Global Startup Ecosystem, Christine and Tim, and the team that has been behind putting this together, as well as the sponsors, as well as Michael Monar from Alter Estates, Richard Picardo from Reef, Jorge Vargas Venture Do, Franklin Ramirez from TikTok, as well as Luis Senya from EduPass, for making the time and educating us, and continue dreaming big and making waves in the tech space. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Boosie.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll jump in before you guys leave, just to say one thing that really resonated is this call for a DR tech mafia. I love that. And I think that, seeing the energy of what all of you have brought to this panel today, I salute you guys. And I hope that, one thing that I want to say, call to action, send us the message so we can blast about it. right? From the summary to the ecosystem that signed up for this program. Let's get them started. Let's create this DR Tech Mafia and let's scale this conversation forward. So thank you on behalf of Boosie, who moderated this conversation, and the entire GSC team. Welcome again to the DR Tech Summit community. Thank you so much for your innovative practices. It's a pleasure to have you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. It was fantastic. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. I think, you know, again, I love that final statement about creating a DR Tech Mafia. You heard it here first. And I think many of you will hear more from these speakers. We'll be sharing, of course, their social media handles so you can engage with them. But there's so much potential in the region. Each one of them have contributed in their own way in terms of what they're building internally, but also what they have to really showcase opportunity within the country. And so with that, hopefully you guys find that useful. We're going to transition to a brief break before we welcome our next keynote speaker for the session. So take a look at this. We're going to show you guys just a brief clip from Latin America Future Summit so you can see about the experiences that we're doing across the region. Wherever you're joining in from, thank you for joining us as we explore the theme Future Tech Hubs of Latin America with this first annual Latin America Future Summit.
Each country in LATAM has a different reality, so we need to work closely with the operators, with the government, with the universities to really develop a strong ecosystem.
So, you know, it's not about how small you are, it's just understanding the opportunity and equipping yourself with the tools to take advantage of those opportunities.
So I realized that if there is not a skill in the market, I needed to begin to do something to have that skill if I want to grow in the future. So
we are willing to hear these innovations, and we would like to partnership with these kind of companies.
You see that the business world today, brands face new types of customers with high digital capabilities.
Objective, our mission is to make sure everybody that want to have a job should have a job. And not any type of job, but what we call a decent job, a job with quality. And so
the industry-specific solutions have unquestionably become the cloud's next big revolution.
Alter Global is an early-stage venture capital firm investing in emerging market startups, pre-seed through Series A in Latin America, the Middle East.
And there's a lot of talent, right? I think we're catching up on that, and we are also demonstrating that we have the right culture, the right talent, and the right ingenuity, right, for making those change happen.
So on this chart, you can see LinkedIn's hiring rate across a couple different countries.
The 313 stands for the deliverable. The 313 is a process that will help you to articulate your idea in 3 sentences, 1 sentence, and ultimately 3 words.
The pandemic has, in some ways for us as an innovation lab, only accelerated the way we wanted to work, the way we want to put innovation and technology at the service.
Whilst we already know that our tourism sector has been completely decimated across the region. So we have to really try and find other solutions.
But there are a lot of opportunities in the Caribbean region. As you know, we suffered a major brain drain for many, many years.
How many of you have heard this question where you're applying for the job, they say you don't have any experience, but you need experience to have experience? Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I know we're going to be welcoming our next speaker. Naisha Sonadine is going to be our keynote speaker, is going to be joining us. So let's just get the kickoff countdown before we welcome her on the main stage. Our next speaker, Naisha from Barbados Trust, will be joining us. So let's get the countdown. She'll be on the other side of this welcome video. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to the lovely Naisha Sonadine. Hopefully I said it right. Chair of Barbados Environmental Conservation Trust. Welcome to DR Tech Summit. I've been monitoring you for years, actually, for a while now across the Caribbean. So it's a pleasure. I pass it over to you.
Thank you so much. And actually, Christine, we've shared the stage throughout the Caribbean quite a few times. So it's so good to see you again. And I think that when we used to share stages, it was really to promote sort of not just technology, but really to promote young people getting into the space and not feeling comfortable that whatever they need to do, they need to go out there and do it. And so I'm here for a very short time because I'm not a techie. Everyone in the Caribbean knows me as Miss Mako. I own the largest publishing company in the Caribbean. And of course, through my 20 years as a publisher, I've seen the entire publishing industry go from very flat to purely digital. I mean, back in the day when I started as a publisher, we used to take pictures with really big cameras and actually with film. We didn't even have digital cameras. And so now that I'm sort of left the entire publishing part of my life behind, I have really become, and I love the DR Tech Mafia statement. And I said that, so I've sort of become the Caribbean's environmental conservation head of the mafia here. And I live on a beach in beautiful Barbados. I wish you could see outside right now. And I see my tiny, tiny little island slowly dissolving. And as most of you know, Barbados relies very, very heavily on tourism. And our environmental resources as part of its tourism product is something that we really, really need to focus on. So the preservation of marine and terrestrial spaces is a key component for economic productivity here on island. And because of this, the environmental health of our island is so important for the health of its people. Although highly concentrated in urban centers, Barbados actually is one of the most densely populated islands in the Caribbean. I think it's 666 people per square kilometer. So, you know, as I said, it's usually in urban areas, but we do have an issue with population density, and that puts a huge resource on our natural resources here. Burden on our natural resources, sorry. So this high density means that the environmental resources need to be well distributed and managed for both purposes of scarcity, but also for the general health and safety of populations that share these natural resources. Barbados has had a long history of government support and local civil society activism towards environmental initiatives. However, what a lot of these initiatives don't have is proper funding. And so when as I said, when I sort of got out of my career and started focusing on my philanthropy, the one thing I really wanted to do was not just start an NGO, but it was to use my collective database and my networking to raise funds to support all of these amazing grassroots projects that were already on island. We also have another trust in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, headed up by my good friend Louise Mitchell, and we're looking at launching this trust right through the Caribbean. So what we do is we raise funds to support projects that are already on island, where a little bit of money can act like rocket fuel and really allow these projects to have the most impact on our small little archipelago of islands here. And so the way that we need to focus on all of these environmental conservation projects is through technology. And I've been seeing a lot of our different projects that we're supporting using technology to save the Caribbean. And I wanted to just touch on a couple of them so everyone will understand that no matter sort of what field you are in tech, your services are so needed in the conservation space, because we just don't have the resources, human or otherwise, to focus on this. So we're supporting a company called BioRock Technology. And what BioRock does is it uses technology to regenerate our reefs. Now, I know that we do not have a lot of marine protected areas in the Caribbean. We need more. But of course, with the cruise ship industry floating across our seas, it's very hard to have a lot of marine protected areas that are large enough that would really have any major impact. But in Barbados, a lot of our reefs are bleached. And in the Caribbean, we need reefs because it's a natural barrier to sea surge. When we have, the storms coming across the Atlantic are bigger and more fierce and angrier. And so we need reefs. We also need reefs for tourism, snorkeling. We need reefs for fishing. It's a huge resource that we have to protect. And so what BioRock does is they're using technology by sending a low voltage current through the seawater, which crystallizes the minerals in the seawater. And these minerals then, these crystallized minerals then form on structures, which would be the reef, forming limestone. And then, so this reef actually becomes more sturdier and grows 2 to 10 times faster than other reef regeneration projects or than for normal reefs. And so we're funding this, or we are supporting them in their pilot project in Barbados. And if it works, then we will use this technology right across our reefs that are already bleached in Barbados. Then in the Caribbean, we are in desperate need of ocean mapping, which some islands have started, but not a lot. In farming, COVID really, really showed my small island of Barbados that when supply streams stop, we are not self-sustained when it comes to food security. We cannot feed our own people with what we farm. And I'm working with a company called AgriForce. And AgriForce, Barbados is not a terribly arable island. It's not like Dominica or the Dominican Republic. It is a very sort of, it's a limestone piece of reef jutting out of the water. So not a lot of rich soil. And this company is using this full, very robotics really to sensitize the climate within the system so they could grow anything all year round, pesticide free, fertilizer free, not reliant on weather or rain or sun, because it is all computerized within this one system. So here in Barbados, we could actually produce hundreds of thousands of tons of strawberries if we needed, all year round, which will then not only feed our population, but we could then use it as an export. And we are using technology in fishing. So we just supported this company called DigiFish, and data scarcity in small-scale fisheries hinders the effective management of marine resources. The aim of this project was to promote the use of digital technologies and innovative data analytical methods to support the application of the ecosystem approach to fisheries. And what EAF is an integrated management approach across all marine areas and their natural resources that promotes conservation and sustainable use of the entire ecosystem. So what this project is doing is over the 12 months, DigiFish, which is the name of the project, will demonstrate how vessel tracking systems can be used to make informed decisions about how a fishery can be best managed to balance societal objectives and improve livelihoods. The project will initially install about 35 pelagic data systems on small boats, on the fishing boats. And this will record data to inform and support the fisheries division. The expected outcomes are improved digital literacy of the fisherfolk and the fishery officials, improved collaboration amongst stakeholders and the practical application of the EAF, and creation of a robust database of location data and analytical tools to support marine protected areas and inform stakeholder decision making. So what really this would do is it would not only help us protect our fisherfolk when they're out on the seas, but it would sort of help the fisheries division understand where schools of fish are and where do they migrate to, and it would help the fisheries division manage the protection of fish. So this is all how technology can help us in the conservation space save the region in a nutshell. As I said, I'm not a techie, but I need you guys. So that is it. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you so much for that. And, I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that, you need to be a techie to be in the tech space. And you don't know how inspiring it is to hear what you're doing in the environmental space, especially with sister country Barbados, right? We're all Caribbean brothers and sisters here. It's technology that will enable us to, really change the environment and agriculture, all the things that you just mentioned. But it's the people that is the most important thing. And you shared your journey in building this platform. Before I let you go, do you have any concluding remarks as to, what excites you about the future and what the work that you do in Barbados and how we can learn from it in the DR tech community?
What is really exciting me now, and not just in Barbados, because we're all one, is I feel so old on this panel. But I'm so excited about you guys. I'm working with a number of sort of startup venture companies here in Barbados, and I'm seeing how we need to stop. First of all, we need to stop this brain drain. And so governments in the Caribbean actually need to attract our brightest who would naturally leave our shores and bring them back here. And we need them. We need you guys to come back here and help us move forward, because we're lagging behind a lot when it comes to the rest of the world. We cannot compete. I know that, of course, we have the lovely Mia Moore-Motley, our Prime Minister, who is able to stand up at COP26 and own her space and really speak for the entire Caribbean. But she's a Prime Minister, and when she comes back home, she actually needs to now put policy in place so that we have the resources to pay you guys, to bring you and your brains back here and help us with everything that she said on that stage. to help us digitize all of our state agencies and all of our state companies. And especially, I know in the DR, you guys are way further than the rest of us, but the rest of the smaller islands, they really, really need help through technology, and they're not getting it. So that's what's exciting me. It's you guys.
I appreciate that. And like you said, I mean, Barbados just celebrated, obviously, leaving the UK and becoming its own republic. And so it's always wonderful to see what's happening. I mean, of course, me being Haitian, the first Black republic, it's always nice to see the progress. And so thank you again for being a part of this conversation. We look forward to staying in touch and seeing the work that you do. It's an honor to have you. Thank you so much.
Lovely seeing you again.
Ditto. Talk soon. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. I mean, of course, when it comes to, the dialogues around technology, I hope that you see that we're trying to bring a collective force of influencers in this conversation. And I'm so excited. In the next 30 seconds, we're going to continue this dialogue with more influencers because, again, we're here for the DR Tech Summit, but, there's always innovators both within the DR diaspora. We're going to have someone from the Virgin Islands speak about what she's seeing within her country and what's happening within her region. It's going to be an excited dialogue. So without further ado, let's get the promo clip up and running. And then on the other side of this video, I'm going to welcome two very special people to the DR Tech Summit panel conversation. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm round of applause as we kick off one of the final panels of the session, the investment ecosystem of the future, the opportunity for entrepreneurs and pioneers. These two speakers are going to be giving their thought leadership, their insight of what they're working on. So please give a warm welcome first to Luz Gonzalez. She's the co-founder of the Pretty Busy Club. Welcome, welcome, welcome to DR Tech Summit. And then next, we have the wonderful Sydney Paul. She's the business marketing manager from Virgin Islands Tech Park. She's also an enabler and a galvanizer. She brought me out to VI a couple years back. It was an amazing and inspiring program. It's a pleasure to have both of you on this panel. Welcome to DR Tech Summit.
Thank you, Christine.
All right, so I know we're going to kick off on the panel, but usually instead of introducing you guys and reading your bios, I always like telling people, introduce yourself, tell us how you show up in this world. So I'm going to start with Luz. Go ahead, and then I'll pass it over to Sydney. So go ahead.
Yeah, well, thank you for the opportunity to talk to you guys and to give a little bit of our experience in this panel. Well, I started out in the Dominican ecosystem as part of different initiatives that helped the entrepreneurs to scale their businesses and to have a home, and also to understand what's the next level that they should go. So I basically started out with the building of a co-working space that then closed it. And in that experience, we put together the first pre-acceleration program for entrepreneurs. And from that point to now, a lot of things have happened. We have a bunch of other initiatives that from that moment on started out and have evolved into different platforms that help entrepreneurs with their with their investment or mentoring programs, etc. And on a personal level, I started out Pretty Busy Club, which is a platform for female entrepreneurs. We are focused on female entrepreneurs and their businesses to help them scale, and also partnering with different companies to create programs for mentoring and also to give them the guidance, the information, and to structure businesses that can actually scale. So that's kind of like I tried to sum it up like really briefly, but of course I could spend hours talking about this evolution, because in DR, I believe that a lot of people have been involved and have put their 50 cents into this bowl, so we could make this happen and feel great about what's happening in the art.
No, well said. And I am going to revisit that conversation around, even creating a co-working space. I mean, it's not easy to do that. And then to now, double down on really empowering women, because, women are usually powering a lot of ecosystem change. So I'm going to follow up on that, of course, in this panel dialogue. So Sydney, how is it going in VI? Tell us about what you're up to. Introduce yourself to the community.
Yeah, happy to be here again. Always good to see you, Christine. So I'm Sydney Paul. I am the Senior Manager of Business Intelligence and Marketing for the University of the Virgin Islands Research and Technology Park. It's a lot to say in one word. But basically what our organization does is attract technology and knowledge-based businesses to the Virgin Islands, because we're just like the rest of the Caribbean, trying to build a tech hub in our space, because we understand that a lot of the challenges that we have, like Ms. Sudin was saying, can be supported by technology in a lot of different ways. So within that, our organization also does things to support building that tech hub outside of bringing businesses. We want to nurture and create tech businesses and tech startups here from the tons of talent that we have. So we have an entrepreneurship program called Accelerate VI. It's the first tech accelerator in the Virgin Islands. And in the past 3 years, Christine, we've done so much that I don't even know if I'll be able to talk about all of it. But our accelerator just finished its third cohort. We've had 21 startups go through it. We opened a co-working space this past summer, which is awesome, and then launched our job search platform for STEM talent in the Virgin Islands, and trying to get people back home, because we understand the same thing about that brain drain that we're trying to reverse. So I support all of those things in a lot of different ways in my position, and I'm really excited for this conversation today, just because of how timely it is and a lot of the conversations we've been having here in the VI.
No, well said. And I think, both of you in your own way have either enabled startups, created the space for startups, or just really even being entrepreneurs yourself, because you already have that innovative streak. And I think there's two things that came up in both of the dialogue is this need for talent, nurturing the tech talent in the community and building the space for that. And second, really inspiring people to think about the Caribbean in a completely different way, right? And so I want to go back to Luz and just hear, what is it about Pretty Busy Club, or even just your experience when you first kicked off the co-working space, was difficult? And why do you think that these spaces or this work that you're doing is so necessary, especially today, especially considering the pandemic that we're living in right now?
Oh yeah, that's a really good question. The thing is that creating spaces where people can meet or put their talents into the service of the community or into the service of another business or another colleague, right? It's really important to actually thrive a community and thrive an ecosystem to make things happen. So with the co-working space, the experience we got from that was we were the catalyst of many opportunities, many individuals, and many organizations that were trying to help entrepreneurs, but they didn't have a space to collide, right? So as we created that first co-working space that was actually targeted to startups and tech community, it was the first time ever that Dominican Republic understood the word co-working space. So for us, it was really hard, and answering your first question, it was really hard for us to make people understand that this is what you're looking for. It's just that you don't know it yet. So we spent a lot of time and money and effort trying to make them understand that they needed a co-working space or a space to be together, right? To catalyze that energy and to make things happen together. I was hearing out the other panel, and Jorge was there as well. And Jorge was my my co-founder in that co-working space project. And so yeah, so we learned a lot with Pretty Busy Club. It's kind of like I took what I learned in the co-working space experience, and also put it together with the other necessity. A lot of women are thriving in the ecosystem of tech and entrepreneurship. And it's incredible to look back at 2013 and now, and in that moment you made a workshop or whatever event, and half of the people there were men, more than half. And now it's on the contrary, right? Now we have 60% of the participants are women, and that made me look at the ecosystem in a different way and say, hey, what's something that me as Luz Gonzalez, as the entrepreneur, as the mentor, and as a consultant can give back to this ecosystem that actually no one is doing it in my perspective, right? So Pretty Busy Club went with this idea of creating that space for women entrepreneurs to collide and to put together work, and to also understanding that we can do it, and we can do it together, and we can build startups, and we can build businesses that are scalable, that need funding, that can actually thrive, and that can actually grow and impact others.
Well said. And in expanding on that, I want to take this to Sydney. You guys have seen, like when it comes to the ecosystem, everyone's doing their part. I don't like when people say we don't have this in our country. Just because it doesn't have high visibility doesn't mean that people are not doing the boot camps, doing the co-working spaces, doing the events, doing the initiatives. So I usually try to avoid that type of opening remark, especially when it comes to the Caribbean, because we really disrespect the efforts of a lot of grassroots organizers when we say that. So with that said, with the work that you're doing right now in VI, right? You're on your third cohort and you just opened a co-working space. How are you also looking at what other people are doing? And to that point, do you think there's a change in mentality in diaspora coming back to VI or tapping into the community? Because now there's more visibility, seeing what the work that you've done in the past 3 years. Now there's no excuse to say it's not there. It's now, how do you tap in? What are you seeing?
That visibility point that you made and what Luz made is very, very true. And in my position as the marketing manager, I realized that it wasn't that the talent wasn't here. And then that's another thing about talking about the brain drain too. We tend to say that a lot of our brightest have left, right? But there's also a lot of very talented people here, very bright people that are in the territory that maybe didn't have the resources to leave, but still have the all of these very creative, innovative ideas, but weren't exposed to the opportunities or, the resources that they could have. The RT Park for us was one of those things that I realized that a lot of people didn't know about, and they didn't know, how it could serve them, one. And two, how just the tech, the tech sector, the tech ecosystem in general, like you said, Christine, you don't have to be a techie to really enter the space. A lot of young Virgin Islanders don't understand how that space is available to them, and they just didn't know that it was there. So doing that work now, we're seeing a lot of really fast progression, which is great, and a lot of interaction and people interested in what we're doing. In terms of learning from other places, what I realized in having conversations with my peers from other islands, I was just talking about something very frustrating that was happening in the territory here in terms of our government and on Facebook. And one of my friends from Antigua said, wow, it's crazy that you guys are going through the same thing that we're going through, right? So taking that into consideration, what I've realized is that we definitely, of course, should be working together, because all of us in the Caribbean have the same challenges. We're going through the same environmental challenges, the same challenges with resources, food security, all of those things. So, collaboration is very important. And then also with our entrepreneurs, we try to tell them that you're not just working necessarily for your community. Of course, you're doing that, but what you're working on and the solutions you're working on are so not customized, but you're thinking of your culture and where you are. These things can be applied to the rest of the Caribbean, and there's success and scaling and all of those things, and just feeling connected to the rest of our sister islands. So I tend to encourage our entrepreneurs and those who are looking in the tech space here to look at what other islands are doing. For me, particularly in the ag sector, there's a lot going on. So we're going through the same thing. So we should definitely be talking to one another.
I love that you said that we need to look at our other sister islands, because I think so much we look at sometimes the wrong markets. And sometimes we're like, oh, we're looking at the US, oh, we're so far behind, and not looking at, some of the challenges and also the, the hallmarks of our region that's happening across. I mean, obviously from my position, I'm seeing what's happening in Haiti, Barbados, Jamaica, obviously VI, Dominican Republic, right? We're seeing a lot on our end. And I think, we need to really look regionally sometimes before looking globally, because there are advances. And I think if we have a pocket of collaboration, even if it is just cross-marketing each other, I think collaboration is a word that's thrown out so much, but we don't know how to apply it. But even just cross-amplification, I think that's something that we at GSC want to do more of, amplifying what's already out there, because I think that's like a fundamental thing that people skip over in terms of cross connections. So with that said, I want to have a conversation around time. Luz, I love the name of your company, your platform, Pretty Busy Club. And I think that it's funny. I mean, you're empowering women, but it's one of those things where, especially with this pandemic, time to really build your ecosystem, tap into your ecosystem, accelerate communities that matter, like women, right, that are doing great things. It's just like a fleeting concept now. Can you share with us, like, how are you inspiring your community to do better with their time, to really be effective, but more importantly, to be a great case study, a face, an inspiration, a hallmark, with what they're doing, how they spend their time. I would love to hear what you've been doing as an entrepreneur in this space.
Yeah, actually, our part of our marketing messages are being busy the right way, because we really believe that there's like a culture in this startup and tech world that you need to be busy all the time and to be productive, and we use those languages, and we don't sometimes we forget that how we speak to each other and how we speak to ourselves but impacts the way we do and the way we live and the way we produce things, right? So we took that concept of being busy, and we are trying to attract people that actually resonate with the Pretty Busy Club, and then kind of like brainwash them and tell them, hey, you know what? I know that you joined the Pretty Busy Club and that you're doing one of our mentoring programs and that you are being in this community and that you felt attracted to that pretty busy concept. But guess what? What we really believe is that you should be focusing on the things that actually impact your business and your life. And you should be focusing on having a business that is aligned to yourself, a business that is going to impact the environment, your country, and the world in the way that you are meant to inspire and you are meant to impact. So it's kind of like tricky, because we as women, we have a lot of superpowers, and one of those superpowers is to try to do a lot of stuff at the same time, and that comes like really well to us, right? We are having the kids, we are having the family, we are doing our best job, we are building a business. Sometimes we have side hustles, and sometimes we have a bunch of stuff going on. But what happens when you sit down and try to build a business is that you need to be laser focused on the things that really matter, the things that actually move forward the business in the right way, in the right direction. That's why we have built a platform with the curated information, trying to let that noise out and just focusing on the real information that's gonna give you the questions, the reflections, and the outcome that really matters. So you were talking about the pandemic, and this is one of the things that we learned, is that when the pandemic hit, we put out a program, like a 3 masterclass, 2 hours per day. It was like 6 full hours of how to build a platform and how to do that step from offline to online and go digital. And it was like 1,000 people just connected just to understand that. And for us, it was amazing to see that, because it's people that are trying to emigrate from one place to another, people trying to connect with other countries, people trying to expand, people trying to impact more. And the way that you see yourself in the business, it replicates a lot in the results of your business itself.
Yeah, and with that said, I wanted to hear a little bit more also about see how you're enabling people by creating this masterclass. That's powerful. Like, getting people to go digital. I now also want to talk about the co-working space that you said that you launched and it's closed. Can you share a little bit more about you're sharing what you've done in the ecosystem, but how have the ecosystem helped you or supported you in building the co-working space and what happened with that? Because I think, again, with places like DR, we hear so much about the fragmentation of the ecosystem and we look at the enablers, but are the enablers supported? So I just want to, if you could quickly just give us a point about what was that experience like building a co-working space in the Dominican Republic?
Yeah. First, I'm going to say it was 2012. So, and 2013. So it's kind of like when you look back, you say there was nothing back then, right? Like we were a bunch of people trying to do different initiatives. We had Startup Weekend just started, and we were the team that were actually working to make a Startup Weekend going on here. And yeah, but here's the deal. Like when we started saying that we wanted to build a co-working space, and when we started putting the word out, right, a lot of people came through and say, hey, if you want to do this, guys, like, don't worry, like I have this person, I have that contact, I have this, I have that. And it was really beautiful to see how we were trying to build a space and everybody understood it was needed, and everybody put their effort either like contacting with people or spreading the word or just being there for us. But at the same time, one of the best thing that we made with the co-working space was that we put together the government initiatives, the private initiatives, and the corporate environment. We put it together with the individuals that were trying to help entrepreneurs. So those three players understood the importance of building the first pre-acceleration program or starting just different type of events that were networking events, tech events, etc., hackathons, bootcamps, all of that. So we kind of like put the seed in the ecosystem, and we were open for almost 3 years. And when we closed, it was, for me, it was like a breakthrough for the entire ecosystem, because by the end of that year, there were like 4 other co-working spaces going on. The government bank just launched their also their entrepreneur program, acceleration program. So it was like a seed that we planted, and now Jorge, me, and Guillermo and Laura, the ones that we were involved in there, that we can see the results in other initiatives that started there. So yeah.
I would definitely want to follow up with you, because I think like, these are the legends that we don't hear about, because obviously everyone's looking at the spaces that exist today. But definitely I would love to follow up with you on that, because that seed inspired more, right? And just making sure that that is articulated when it comes to the DR Tech ecosystem evolution, right? And, going to Sydney, you've been operating for 3 years now, right? Funny enough, the year that you kicked off, it was an amazing experience in VI. The past 2 years, we've been living in a pandemic, but you kept going, and I commend you for that, because it's not easy to keep going when you don't even know what's 22 going to look like. It's going to be live in person, or is it going to be virtual? So in looking at, you guys are now becoming a case study. Truly you are. Like, the work that you do at VI is really becoming a case study. What have you learned that ecosystems like Dominican Republic can leverage and tap into, because you guys also did a collision effect with, the government, the university ecosystem, the private sector. Can you elaborate, I guess, the highs and lows of the journey of building this and what we could take away from it?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I mean, there are highs and lows. I mean, for sure, in building anything, I tell people a lot that joining the RT Park. So just for a brief history, the RT Park itself was established in 2002. And then the team that I'm on now, our executive director, came on a couple months before me and basically built the team that we have here from scratch. And for me, it feels like we're our own startup, right? And we're still in startup mode. We're still launching programs, getting them stable so that we can move on to other projects. So there's a lot of highs and lows. The pandemic was very that was a big curveball, because that year, we were just getting ready to do our second cohort. A part of that program for the Accelerate VI is to bring some of the founders here. So that program is not just for Virgin Islanders. We do focus more on Virgin Islanders, but it's open to people from anywhere. And we get other founders from other Caribbean islands, from the United States. So we want them to kind of immerse themselves in the experience here so that they can understand what we're trying to build and get excited about what's happening in the VI and hopefully come and establish themselves here. But we couldn't do that because of the pandemic, and ended up doing that whole program, that second cohort, virtually. Usually we do a demo day where they pitch to investors. We did that in person for the first one. It had to be, on Zoom virtually for the second one, and it all worked out. I do think that some of the benefits of the pandemic did allow us to kind of reach farther in terms of who is seeing these startups that we're kind of showcasing to the world, right? So initially in our first cohort, we had investors, high net worth people, others from the community who came physically to see these startups pitch their businesses. With the second one, we were able to reach a lot more people just, outside of the territory. We were able to have mentors who maybe wouldn't have been able to come to the St. Croix to talk with them, do it from, their office in Google in New York, or, wherever they are at Microsoft. So those were the benefits of it. I do think that with this now hybrid kind of ecosystem that we're going into, and, a lot of people call it the new normal, we're trying to be creative about how we reach people on the marketing side, and to get people involved, even though they may not physically be able to do it. Because like I said, there's a lot of people here who don't have the resources to be engaged in this stuff. Technology in many ways can make things more efficient and affordable, depending on, how you look at it. And I think that we're going to use it. We're going to keep using it. But the pandemic was very interesting. We were getting ready to start a youth coding camp or a program that year. That was going to be a school year long program. And then the pandemic hit. All of the students were doing work from home. We had to quickly think about what we were going to do. So we did a summer program where they got that we got Chromebooks donated to them, so they were able to do the work that we wanted them to do at home. They were able to use those Chromebooks for their own schoolwork at home if they didn't have those resources, which was great. So we're trying to kind of build that out again. But yeah, I think a lot of us have seen a lot of benefits from the pandemic. I try to look at opportunities rather than the challenges that we had, or frame those challenges as opportunities, and we've definitely kind of built out on that.
No, well said. And I think, I know we're coming up on closing the panel, and so I guess I'll start with, Lucia, to just hear not just your concluding remarks, but what do you think is going to be next for the Dominican Republic? You participate Startup Weekend, you started a co-working space, now you're doing the Pretty Busy Club, and enabling women. You have just been really building and empowering your community in the country. What's next for you? How do you feel like it's going to be the next tech hubs is DR going to be the next tech hub of the Caribbean, that everyone's going to be flocking to DR, or do we have a little bit more to go? What does that look like, and where do you see yourself in it as history is being made down this path for DR?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think that the previous panel, it was a really good, the tech DR mafia, right? That resonated with all of us. And yeah, I think that there's a lot of people doing great job building the next startup that hopefully is going to be the next unicorn. Why not? So we are crossing our fingers and trying to create this space and the mentors and the finance and the investment to actually make that happen. And not just me. I think I'm speaking about everyone in the ecosystem trying to push that, right? But at the same time, I also think that there's a long way to go. It's an ecosystem that is still trying to walk, right? So we want to run and we want to fly, but we're still walking, right? So it's and that's okay. And I really believe that when you understand where you are, you can go further, and then you can understand where you're going, right? But if you don't know where you are, then there's no way that you're gonna get where you are going. So yeah. But on the same part, like as a personal level, I believe that the investment here in DR, the startups, the companies, and everything that is been developing here needs a little bit of understanding the entrepreneur, because I really think, and there's something that you said, that we all need to be together in this, because we are running through the same issues and challenges and everything, and that's totally accurate. Because here's the deal: we don't think as people, we don't think the same way as the US market thinks. We don't think the same way as European things. It's not the way we see the world, we see our lives. So I truly believe that we have adopted the methodologies and the way to do business from the US and those big economies, because, well, they were the ones that put it out there, right? And we're gathering all that information and trying to build businesses and build entrepreneurs in that way, because that's the way we know, right? But what happens when we try to deconstruct that and try to build a methodology and a way to do businesses that is more aligned to our culture? Because right now, like right now, everyone is trying to build a unicorn or build a whatever, right? And not everyone is trying to understand how is this impacting our people, how is this impacting our entrepreneurs, this super like fast racing that we're all in it, like how does it contribute at the end of the day, right? So in a personal level, I'm attracted to working with the entrepreneur, working with those intentional businesses instead of the unicorns, those tech companies that are not rushing to get it done and get it out there, but are taking time to do quality jobs and to do quality tasks and to actually impact their team first, right? So that's the way I'm seeing the future for me and my contribution to the ecosystem.
So well said. The intentional business. I mean, Sydney, the question goes the same to you, but more importantly, because that you have the resource of the university, the ecosystem behind you. I know you guys have been around for 3 years. I can imagine 10, 20, 30 years, it's still going to be there, right? And so what do you envision is going to be next for UVR RT Park? And what do you see yourself? What are people going to say about Sydney and her involvement with this program?
I just want to say that I totally resonated with what Luz was saying just now, in terms of how we tend to look outside for how to do business, how to support our entrepreneurs. And our culture, our history, all of those things is very different than other regions. But internally within our region, we can see a lot of ourselves in one another. And I think that that's where our focus should be in looking to, like you said, Christine, earlier on in the conversation, looking to other islands for that inspiration. So I just wanted to say that first. For the RT Park, man, I think that we're, very much focusing on that brain drain issue. So our job search platform is called Vista Plus. It's basically a database, right, of all of these Virgin Islanders across the world who are working in STEM. We're trying to bring them back home. That's a really crucial part of building that ecosystem. We can do the work here to, with coding programs and things like that, which is what we will do, adult programs, youth programs. But I think it's really important to try and bring people back home. Even if you do that at this point virtually, right? Because of the pandemic, you can still have people working and supporting, building what we're doing here, even though they can't be here necessarily right now. But the key part of that is just getting them involved and having them understand, wow, there's something going on back home, that I left because I couldn't find, and now it's home, and I'm nostalgic and I want to be home, and now I feel comfortable maybe making that transition. So the workforce development is very key. We're going to try and build out that platform. We launched it in June. We've gotten over 3,000 visits since then. A couple dozen people have registered. A lot of companies have registered and are putting jobs up. So that's going well. In terms of the Accelerator program, what we've talked about is encouraging more women founders. We noticed in our first 2 cohorts, there were more men who were, running the startups, and that's fine as long as, we're making sure that a lot of Virgin Islanders are getting the support. But we realized that just like in other parts of the world, especially in the United States, that the representation is not there. On top of the fact that you are a person of color, you are now, a woman, and that just makes it more difficult for you to have that visibility and support. So we're working on making sure that a lot of women in the territory, in the Virgin Islands, in our Virgin Islands diaspora, know that this accelerator exists, and it's been working. So our last cohort, we had 5 of the 7 startups had women founders. Of the total amount of founders, 7 of the 12 founders were women. That really was just a success story for me. And I think it's going to start building more and more. When I look at our data on people who are engaging with us online, more and more of them are women. And I think that that's a good thing. So we're going to just kind of keep that motivation and roll with that. Personally, like Luz said, there's all of these different ways to look at the entrepreneur life. We are a territory of the United States. However, I don't necessarily connect with a lot of what the United States does in terms of the history, because we were taught that. But I resonate more with other Caribbean islands just because of the culture and that history, and growing up with all of the things that I do on the island. So I think of how you think of an entrepreneur differently than the hustle and bustle of what, that sort of capitalist running, you're doing all of these different things at the same time. I don't think that we have to do that. And I'm really excited because I have lots of ideas that I would like to get off the ground. And I want to be able to just, get it done, but have quality work. You don't necessarily have to compete with anybody else, because if you're really thinking about what your solution is, what should be more important is the impact that it's having on the community, and not necessarily you being the first one. And then the last thing I'll say about that I've had to tell myself too, that I tell other entrepreneurs, is that even though something exists in an ecosystem, so, maybe there's a food service delivery app in the United States, like Grubhub or Uber Eats or things like that. You may think, oh, well, that already exists. I shouldn't even do that, because let me think of something like totally new. Not necessarily. Those types of tech companies are geared towards the markets that they're in, right? And serve them in the ways that those consumers want to. And we don't necessarily do that. We don't necessarily experience those things or want to experience those things in the same way. So you can create a food delivery app. We have a startup who actually is in this 3rd cohort who created a food delivery app for the territory, which I think is going to go really well. And, you can reinvent and make things more for your community. You don't have to necessarily be that unicorn that's thinking of something that's, very, very new. So I'm working, that is my journey right now. I'm trying to start, kickstart some stuff. But in the meantime, I'm just really grateful to be around the community that we have here, because it's inspiring me, and I'm hoping that pushing them also pushes me. So we're gonna be still in startup mode here at the RT Park for some time, but it's all exciting stuff.
No, well said. And I think there's something that you mentioned there about just like really looking at building something for your community, even if it's out there. And even if it, there's another startup that's doing exactly what you're doing in your country, no one company could do it all for the entire country. And that's a mindset I think us in the Caribbean that we need to revisit. Healthy competition as opposed to like stakeholder competition, because I think there's a perception that, once something is there, it's untouchable, right? We need multiple options, multiple ways, multiple authors, because even in America, we have multiple options. We should create that mentality in our own communities. But with that, I wish we had more time to continue, but of course, it was honestly a pleasure to have you ladies on today, to not only talk about the ecosystem of the future, but the opportunity for entrepreneurs and pioneers like both of you certainly are within your respective countries. Thank you so much. And we will be in touch in future editions of DR Tech Summit, and of course, across the Caribbean. Thank you so much, ladies. It was an honor to have both of you with me today.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. honestly, like that was for me one of my favorites in a long time, because I was able to hear from each of them how they're really pioneering not only their individual initiatives within the country, but also how they see the evolution of places like DR or, Virgin Islands or any Caribbean country that's, accelerating tech innovation. It's amazing to see what's happening. And so with that said, I know we're coming to the conclusion of the iconic DR Tech Summit. We are so excited that we were able to launch this. I will be very frank and share that I've heard a lot about the fact that DR Tech Summit is not prepared for Dominican Republic, is not prepared for a DR Tech Summit. There's still too many micro activities. The government needs to issue this. We don't have enough co-working spaces. I am a huge believer in just starting, right? And I'm also a huge believer in saying that there are people, even if they don't have high visibility, that's doing great work in DR Tech Summit. So aside from thanking every single speaker and partner that made DR Tech Summit 2021, the first annual edition, possible, I also want to give a shout out to all the enablers, the co-working space, the event organizers, the entrepreneur supporters, the venture hubs, the current grassroots organizers in the Dominican Republic that is kind of like the unsung heroes that is building the entrepreneurial and the tech ecosystem landscape. And you will hear more of them. We look forward to, for the second edition, finding them. That's like part of the mission of GSC this year is let's find these enablers. Let's find these, innovators who is building the tech ecosystem of the country and put them out there so we can continue to grow. For me, looking at the partners that made this accessible, a huge thank you to all of our partners that really spread the message of DR Tech Summit, but more importantly, proudly talked about, what is happening in the Dominican Republic and the opportunities for scaling innovation within the country. As you guys are aware, this program was brought to you by the Global Startup Ecosystem. We have dozens of brands under management, and we're continuing our roadmap of innovating and bringing these tech conversations across emerging markets. And specifically for the Caribbean, I am a Caribbean native as well. I'm Haitian American, a proud Haitian. And when I look at the work that our company has done across the Caribbean, we've been in Jamaica, Haiti, DR, Barbados, Trinidad, now Dominican Republic. There's three things that I hope that you guys take away that will be a big focus and a big call to action for us in 2022 for the Caribbean. It's one, in discussing brain drain, how do we empower the workforce, digitize the workforce, and really diversify the economy, right? So really looking at the workforce, really cultivating the talent of the Caribbean. So you'll be hearing National Career Service initiatives launching across the region. Second, how do we look at tourism and diversifying our economy? I think many people have said the Caribbean is known for sand, sea, and sun, but we're more than the paradise beaches. There's so much innovative capital, innovative ideas and opportunities in the region. So how do we diversify and digitize our economy? And last but not least, how do we accelerate the tech hubs, right? How do we really build an ecosystem that is growing and developing and building off the tech talent and opportunities? So you'll be hearing a lot about our work for this entire decade. By the way, we launched a multi-year initiative that this will be our decade of digitizing the Caribbean and working with different institutes and different organizations. We have a lot of government partners that we'll be announcing over the next couple of weeks about what we're doing in 2022. I'm really excited about the National Career Service initiative that we're doing to not only upskill the workforce of the Caribbean country by country, but also get corporations to redefine how they issue work and supporting them and training them on remote workforce initiatives to hire the talent within the Caribbean. And also looking at revitalizing our tourism sector and more importantly, re-engaging our diaspora. So you're going to be hearing, we're actually going to be announcing a diaspora policy initiative next week during Haiti Tech Summit that's going to be incubated in Haiti, but also scaled across the Caribbean and re-engaging and redefining how the diaspora connect back to the country. And as I said before, we are the organizers of Haiti Tech Summit, which takes place next week. But we share Haiti Tech Summit proudly because it's a really great case study about how to bring stakeholders together. And we will continue, bringing that vision across the Caribbean. So I'm pleased, again, I mentioned this earlier, that GSC is going across the Caribbean. We're doing a Caribbean tour to 10 countries in the Caribbean where we're launching tech summits across the region with government stakeholders, private stakeholders, and really bringing investors and innovators and across our global network of Fortune 500 companies, government partners, and tech enablers to these regions, and really setting a multi-year mandate to accelerate the conversation. And of course, you can always get involved with our work by contacting the team at events@globalstartupecosystem.com. We're just tracking us on social media as we engage and really scale our work across the Caribbean. So again, a huge round of virtual applause to all of our partners, our speakers who engaged with us for the first annual DR Tech Summit with the theme From Tourism to Tech Hubs, Shaping the Future of the Dominican Republic. It was such an honor and welcome to kick off DR Tech Summit this year. And we look forward to seeing you for the next edition next year in 2022. Stay tuned for dates and announcements. And we look forward to staying in touch with the entire community as we scale the tech conversation, innovation, and really inspiring people for what's next for the Dominican Republic. It was a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much. And welcome again to the DR Tech Summit community. See you next year.
We'll be right back.